in the Perth creative landscape, there are many people that have fashion brands. Some just put logos on clothing. Some design the cuts. Some send designs to workshops overseas. Some design and stitch their product together. But very few create their product by hand right from the thread. And that's why today we're here with Meg. Hey, Meg. And Meg is a Perth-based fashion designer and stylist. She started an online store, was it 1 year ago?
Yeah, like around 1 year ago.
1 year ago, and all her garments are machine knitted and hand sewn together in her home studio. So very excited to chat to you today and find out everything. And you just told me a little fact on this day. So what happened on this day?
So it was, I think this day a year ago, I completed my first ever knitted piece. Yeah. So the first thing I ever knitted was like finished today. Yeah.
Was that on the knitting machine?
So the knitting machine. Yeah. So like I'd never used a knitting machine before.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't hand knit, still can't hand knit.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was at Tafe at the time studying fashion design, and I like had it in my, like I had this concept that I really needed to like do. And I realized the best way would be to knit it, but like machine knitting was going to be way faster and better. And my friend happened to have one. Oh, so cool. I asked to use it and he kind of showed me the basics, and then I just like started knitting it and I really fell in love with the machine, and I ended up buying the machine from him. Oh, yeah, so it's my machine now. Oh, wow. And now I knit on it all the time, like every day. I'm just knitting away. Yeah. And
what sort of piece was it that you made?
So it was very ambitious for a first like time knitting. Yeah. It was a full length dress with long sleeves and had 300 Swarovski crystals knitted in it, and then I also had to dye it a few times to get it like to the shade of black that I wanted it, because it was meant to be like a spider web dress, and the crystals were like droplets on the spider web, like in the sun. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And where's that dress today?
I actually have it in my bag. Yeah, I
do. Damn. Can we just have a look at it?
Yeah, sure. I can get it.
Yeah. That's very cool.
It's fine if I take those off.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. You can grab it. And is that on the Instagram page as well, or not really? It's a secret piece. It is. I think I saw.
Yeah, there's a few pictures of it.
Is this the one that you minted last year?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the one.
Guy, we got an archive piece.
Yeah.
Right here. So yeah, we can see that. Oh, it's actually looking good because the sparkles are coming out.
Yeah, so it's like very long.
Mm-hmm.
It's got distressing in it, sort of, because I wanted it to look like, like a spider web was basically the inspiration.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I've had a few people ask to buy it, but
it's
like so close to my heart.
And it's on the Instagram as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's some. I mean, we could look at some. Should I go to the shop Siren?
Yeah,
Instagram?
There'll be a bit further. Oh, there's one right there.
This one?
Yeah, that's the dress.
Oh, looks so nice. So 300 Swarovski crystals.
Yeah, like hand knitted in it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Very ambitious for like never having knitted anything ever before.
And you studied at Tafe. Was that like a good course? Do you recommend it? Did you, like, for me personally, like I went to uni, so I got a degree in photography and graphic design, but I feel like probably learned more from YouTube. I mean, not saying don't go to uni. I think it was still a good experience. But in terms of the course, I think, I don't know, I've heard better things at other unis. Like I went to Murdoch. The Murdoch course was good in terms of learning about the history and whatever, but I think of practical skills, not too sure. But yeah, if you could share your experience maybe.
Yeah. So the reason I went to Tafe over uni because I could have gone to Curtin because they have a fashion program. But I went to Tafe specifically because it's more hands-on and you actually learn how to pattern make and how to sew. So like I think I would recommend it, but then I also wouldn't because like I definitely learned a lot there. In terms of knitting, I did like that was all like self-taught.
Practical
but
skills.
Like I learned how to pattern make and sew there and it's like it was definitely good, and I think it's probably better than uni if you're looking to learn how to sew and how to make your own clothes.
So like practical skills.
Yeah, practical skills definitely, because we didn't do like much theory really.
Yep. Okay, cool.
But it's definitely a bit like it's not a new course. Even like that dress is fully like see-through, and I had a bit of issues with that, just like with some of the lecturers, and I had to be like, it's literally like a creative course. It should, I don't understand why it's such a big deal.
For sure.
But yeah, I think they're also, I've been told that they're like rewiring the whole course now.
So maybe do they sort of teach you the practical skills, but it's not like an updated modern
definitely
course.
I think it's a good place to learn like how, because I mean to learn how to, like I personally think to be like the best you can be at designing, you have to have basic skills on how to make a garment so that you can like actually make something that's gonna work. So I think it was good in that respect. But yeah, it's just a little bit like behind the times, I think.
I think I can like compare that to my course at Murdoch. My course was more like theoretical. We did do some hands-on stuff. Like I find some courses they're like very hands-on, but then they maybe lack a bit of theory that you sort of need, and also lack a bit of like modern day marketing, like how you're going to make money sort of thing. So I think if they have like how you can make money, also the practice skills and the theory, I think that's pretty good. But it sounds like the TAFE course had the practical skills, but it was lacking like a few other stuff.
Yeah, that's like we didn't really get taught like how to make money, because you basically at TAFE you get taught how to make things to the standard of like like big scale manufacturing. Yeah, it's not really for like
how to work for somebody.
Yeah, it's like how to work and how to like design and then send it to a factory to get it made. Yeah, actually
that's interesting. Like that's what I find a lot of uni courses that like teach you how to work for somebody, like whatever it is, photography or graphic design. But I've always wanted to work for myself, and they didn't really teach. And I think a lot of fashion people want to work for themselves, like create their own brand. And
and they can't, like they don't really tell you anything about how to make money doing that.
So because I've heard good things about the Curtin course. So it was between like Curtin and the TAFE as well, pretty much. And did you, and then you created shop Siren straight out of TAFE? Yeah, so at TAFE you do so I did it's like Cert 4 and then diploma, and then you can do the advanced diploma, which I chose not to do that. But in your diploma at the end you make like a mini collection, and so you have to like make your own brand name for that. And so I made Siren for that. And so like the first things that I posted were my collection from TAFE, because you have to do like a photo shoot and everything and do like a lookbook. And then I chose not to continue on to the third year. So I like graduated last year, and then from there I just kind of like, I haven't, like people just messaged me and were like, hey, can you make me this? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I've just sort of been making things every now and then when people ask me. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been meaning to like advertise and like start being like, I'm like going to make things, but I just haven't done it yet. That's well, similar to what sort of I'm doing. Like I don't advertise myself. I mean, I have a business, a business that's separate from my personal brand, but like I'm still like, people are still like hiring me. Maybe if they didn't hire me for a bit and then I like had the time to like be like, okay, I'm gonna have a marketing thing in place.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm just doing it when people ask me.
Yeah, and because like word of mouth really gets around. Yeah, especially because Perth is quite small. So
yeah, so you can kind of manage.
Yeah, exactly.
And have you done like sort of like a collection launch, like maybe for Tafe? I know they have like the runway shows. Was that like a collection launch in itself?
The runway show is a third year thing. So I didn't do that. Tafe is also like quite expensive, which is why one of the other reasons I chose not to continue, because I spent all of my money on the first 2 years. But so for the end of my second year, like we make a little collection, and then we have, it's called a static display. So like it's basically just your clothes are put on a rack and people come and look at them. Okay. Yeah. So that's what we had.
Vibes.
Yeah, it was like, it was fine. But mainly I think what was good for that was,
as if they couldn't done a little show.
Yeah, I know.
Like you get the rack.
Literally, not even one rack. You have to share it. So it's like split.
That's
so you've got like somebody else's clothes and then your clothes next to them.
Come on, Tafe.
Yeah, it's not. Also because Tafe doesn't have a lot of funding, which I'm sure uni would have more funding.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I also, because I went to South Metro Tafe and I have seen that North Metro Tafe is possibly a little bit more up to date with like their technology and stuff.
Oh, okay. Where's South Metro Tafe located?
It's like near, it's in Bentley, so it's like
Bentley, okay.
Right near here. Okay. Yeah. Whereas North Metro is like in the city.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And with Siren, do you have like collection one, or are you just making pieces as they come?
So I'm actually doing a collection at the moment.
That's all new stuff.
Yeah, all new stuff. It's yeah, it's like very Siren mermaid vibes.
Actually, yeah, even like looking at that dress, I get that. I get it because the jewels and like how it's like a one piece.
Yeah. So
I like the theme.
Yeah. So I did kind of like I did a shoot with the Anti Studio recently because they asked me to style shoot, because they do like shoots.
Oh yeah, you do styling as well.
Sort of, yeah. So the Anti Studio does like shoots where models who want their portfolio photos for their portfolio, they like pay and they get like styling, makeup.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they asked me to style some shoots. So I made a bunch of like quick Siren pieces for that, nice. Which were all very like kind of like Bratz winter kind of vibes, like moon boots and like fluffy things and stuff. Yeah. So I did that little collection, which I've started to post now. And then I'm probably going to sell all of those pieces. And now I'm working on my next collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Yeah. Cause, I wanted to, because I looked up the definition of siren and I've been seeing the word pop up, but just for our listeners, in ancient Greek mythology, a siren is a hybrid creature with the body of a bird and the head of a human.
It's originally a bird, but then like very originally it was a bird, but then it somehow moved into like a half fish.
Probably with like modern stories.
Yeah.
So is it more like a mermaid now?
Yeah. So
I think of it?
A siren was part bird, but I feel like most people think of siren, they think of like a mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the modern interpretation.
Yeah. So the modern interpretation is like basically a half mermaid, like a mermaid creature, generally like a woman who lures men to their death, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they like used to call out to sailors. Yeah, and then they
reminds me of Harry Potter, like.
Yeah, and
that's
like
what they did.
In I think it's in Pirates of the Caribbean as well.
I watched that recently.
Yeah, I watched it recently also. Yeah, so I basically named my brand Siren based on the modern interpretation of like a beautiful like sea creature who lures men to their death, basically.
Oh yeah, I've got the modern interpretation here. A siren is a type of sea spirit from Greek mythology, akin to the mermaid. However, unlike the relatively harmless merfolk, sirens were often depicted as deadly temptresses who would lure sailors towards rocky shores via their hypnotic singing, causing the sailors to crash into rocks and meet with a watery demise.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
they lure the sailors in.
Yeah, because that's kind of like the whole vibe that I wanted for my brand. Cool. Yeah. So nice. It's like pretty, but like a little bit scary.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. And thought we could jump in and check out a few pieces on the gram here. So, and maybe you could talk us through some of these. This is prior to your first collection release. These are just...
So these are the most recent two are like the Bratz sort of winter time ones.
Oh yeah, I thought I'd sorry, before we do that, I was like trying to break down your style a little bit. I think I read it to you earlier, but just for the listeners, my interpretation. It's very like fantasy, Y2K, Bratz, space, ethereal, mythology or folklore, and like metaphysical creations as well. So like that kind of vibe.
That's like literally exactly everything
so,
that I'm like take cool. Inspiration from. Yeah.
So I think you're nailing it.
Thank you.
So yeah, we've got some. Say this piece.
Yeah. So that was the anti-studio shoot. Yeah.
I like how it's so what's this material?
So all of my a lot of my yarn I get from the op shop because the op shop is like,
oh really?
Yeah, it's littered with yarn.
Yo.
So
wow, it's so even the yarn's like sustainably.
Yeah, well, some of it's from Spotlight because you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is from the op shop. So
wool, just like wool.
Yeah, it's normally just wool. Like some of it's acrylic, some of it's I do have a bunch of wool that's like recycled polyester and recycled cotton. But yeah, it's just I just like have. I mean, I'm a little bit of like a yarn hoarder now. I've got so much yarn.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
So I just go in and like pick a bunch of colors that I think will work together and just like.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't like to make the same thing twice.
Okay.
So it's all really random, just like whatever I feel like doing at the time.
I like that though, and I feel like those are called like one-off pieces.
Yeah, so that's what I want, like everything to be like a one-off piece, like no one else has got. Someone might have something similar, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I like how can you take us through the concept behind this piece? And I see even on the elbow you've got some like
it's
material,
like fuzzy yarn.
Yeah.
So I made it's like they're like boleros, I guess, or like sleeves, whatever that's what the piece is. I've made I don't remember when I made my first one, but they're quite popular at the moment and like a few people have been asking me to make them for them. But I just like literally just look by eye. Like I'll just do a few rows of one color, move to another color,
really?
like all just by eye randomly. Yeah. The one on the elbow is like it's just like a fuzzy yarn, which
you just like decide just like I'm gonna
I'm just like pop that in there. Yeah, cool. It's all really random.
I like that. That's kind of how I don't know if you're a painter or any sort of even a graphic designer. Some people plan the concept and then just do it by the concept. I don't actually think you can create like that. Like even with a painting, you're like painting and then you're like, oh, this needs a few strokes over here. Or even in photography, when I'm editing, I'm just like going with the feeling.
Yeah, like just based on what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same with the design.
Yeah, it's very similar. Just what I think looks the best at the time. Yeah. Cool. And most people, if they have like asked me to make them something, they're like, they have a rough idea, but it's like very much I get creative freedom of like how it goes. So that's nice. Yeah.
And yeah, I like how you've styled this as well with like the furry boots and then
thank you.
the more modern sunglasses.
Yeah, so cool. I styled like because I think there was 6 girls and they were all very it's like snow vibes, but like obviously the pieces are like pretty revealing, so it's not really like winter appropriate. But it is very like Bratz Winter Wonderland collection vibes, which is definitely something I grew up with.
And where would, you know, like, I guess, where would the people like wear these pieces out, maybe to like festivals or like every day? Or
I just finished a dress and bolero very similar to that for a girl for Listen Out, because coming up.
Yeah, festivals would be big.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm like would wear that anywhere, but festivals is definitely
I feel like this is a big festival.
That one's
style.
Same vibe, like very Winter Wonderland vibes.
This would look so sick at a festival.
Yeah, with the moon boots too, except they get a bit dirty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got a variety. Oh, I love this one actually.
Yeah, so that was a custom for Fashion Week.
Ah,
yeah.
Melbourne
I think
Fashion
that was the first bolero I made actually. Yeah.
What's it called?
Bolero.
A bolero.
Yeah, it's like a cropped cardigan sleeve thing. Yeah. Sometimes I call them boleros. Sometimes I call them sleeves. But yeah, that was.
It's interesting because normally when you think of like a knitted woolen garment, you think it's like cozy and cute.
I know.
But you've like made it sexy.
Yeah, that's like all
cool.
my stuff is, it's like also because.
That's part of the Siren.
Yeah, and because people probably think, oh, like what's the point of having the long sleeves if it's literally not covering anything else?
Yeah,
but
it's just part of the look. And what about this, the headpiece as well?
Yeah, it's like a little, like a bonnet, I guess. Yeah.
Did you make that as well?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I love this whole look. And I'm sure were some snaps taken at Melbourne Fashion Week.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. There was like a few videos and pictures and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. That must have been pretty.
It was very cool because I think that was the first custom I ever did, and it was just like straight for Fashion Week, and I was like sick.
And what are your, I guess, plans? Like, have you thought about for the future of Shop Siren? Like, do you want to make it like a big thing? Because like right now it's just, you know, you're creating one-off pieces, and you know you're just taking sort of jobs as they come, I guess, when people want you to make clothes. Have you thought about making it into something like a bigger sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm not like too sure. I think because I haven't like even put like on my stories or anything, like I'm open for customs and stuff. So I'm thinking of doing that soon and just see who trickles in, like if anybody wants anything. But yeah, I don't really know where I'm going to take it or what I'm going to do.
Like what if it blows up?
Yeah, I have no idea. That's because part of me is like, oh, it's a bit scary to like be if I have too many people, but then also it's like, well, I could have no one. So
yeah. Because I think that's how a lot of designers started, didn't they? They just would have just made one-off pieces. Even there's like a few fashion designer friends, and they're like just making one-off pieces. But I think that's kind of where it starts. But like, could Siren operate on a commercial level? I guess you'd need like, I know you need to show people how, like theoretically, how to make the stuff you make, and then
I would need to like, I mean, if I was to hire someone else, I'd need to buy more knitting machines, and I'd need to like teach some of my some of what I make has patterns, and some of it is just like me going by the vibe. So because I learnt pattern making at Tafe. So
pattern making. So how do they, like, what is that?
So pattern making is basically just like there's flat pattern making and draping, but it's basically like you know, if you're looking at a video of someone making something and they have a piece of paper that they cut out. Yeah. And then that's like part of like a sleeve, and they cut the sleeve out. Yeah. So it's like making that sleeve. Okay. So it's like making the pattern for the clothing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we learned how to pattern make, like flat pattern make at Tafe. And then my friend who had the knitting machine taught me how to convert a pattern for fabric into a pattern for knitting. Yeah. Yeah. So some of what I do is like knitted patterns, and some of it I just like kind of look at it and do whatever I want and go by vibes. And
Cool. Yeah, I like that because personally I value handmade stuff. Doesn't matter if it was like a table or recently I did a shoot with a tattoo artist Kale, who's been on the podcast before, and he did a collaboration with a knife maker, and he makes knives by hand. I don't know, I just like love handmade stuff so much, and I like got to see his workshop where he like makes the knives and like hammers all the metal and grinds it and everything, and then the end product was this it's like a chopping board made out of jarrah, and then Kale did the hand lettering, like just freehand lettering, and it just looks so good with these handmade knives, and I just loved it. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is like I just love handmade stuff. So I think even with the one-off kind of work that you make, like I do think people in general value that a lot more than say just a shirt that they buy at a random store. That because I think maybe even with these high-end brands, that's why they're kind of valuable, because they come from a designer who like put their heart and soul into like the design, and there's a history and there's a story, and they really value the quality behind their product. If their name's going to be on it, they want that to be a high quality thing. So I think that's where it comes from. Yeah,
I think it's just like a cool concept to like, people love to feel special, so it's like a cool concept to be like, wow, like I'm the only one that has this item, like no one else is walking around wearing this. Yeah,
for sure.
Like I think that's a fun thing that everybody loves to like.
Even if it's just like my friend made this or something.
Or just cooler.
Like, because fashion's a conversation
starter.
Piece as well, starter. So yeah, handmade. It's got a history, got a story, got a design behind it. But also if it's one off, it's like no one else has this.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like
bit cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Conversation starter. So yeah, I kind of like handmade one off stuff.
Yeah, and also I think that in general, people do like to support small businesses if they can, and like I mean, I like to support all of my friends who have their own businesses and stuff. So I think it's like a thing that people do.
Yeah. Have you found like the people around you supported what you've done like a lot, and it's been really positive?
Yeah. Well, so far all of the people who have asked me for customs are people that I know, not necessarily like best friends with them, but they're all people I know. So yeah, so far it has been like everyone's been supporting me. Which is good. And I understand that, like I don't expect all of my friends to buy something from me, because I understand that it's not everyone's style, and also not everyone can afford it. Yeah. But it is like nice to see people supporting you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And have you enjoyed the marketing side as well? Because as a photographer, I love doing photo shoots and like that collaborative aspect. Has that been enjoyable for you, or?
I mean,
you don't really enjoy that part of it too much?
I love shoots. Like I love styling shoots and being a part of them. Marketing in terms of like advertising and selling myself, not so good at that. But I love like the networking and the marketing in terms of like, that kind of side, definitely. Yeah.
But not like like reminding yourself you got to post and like
scheduling. That is a little bit harder. I'm definitely not as good as
more
that.
Like plans.
Yeah, or even just like making content, making TikToks like that. I need to get better at that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think like you've got so much potential like there, but then it's like even if you did put that out and you had all those people like asking you, it's like that's what it's sort of like for me. Like if I promoted myself so much, like you can only get so much work, and then it's like you kind of like maybe some part of you doesn't want that demand as well, so you're just taking it day by day.
Like definitely just taking it slowly for now. Yeah
Cool. And I want to sort of dive deeper into because I can see in your work, in your design and your brand, that aspect of mythology and folklore with like the fairies and that sort of thing. So where did that come from?
So when I was like a child, I definitely grew up watching and reading all things like fantasy, like fairies, mermaids, like all of it. Also because I, like you said earlier, Bratz. I grew up with like Bratz and Barbies and stuff. So I think really if I look at what I make, it's kind of a lot of it goes back to when I was a child, like what I was into as a child and I guess like still into now really. But yeah, I was obsessed with fairies as a kid, always wearing fairy wings, always like reading fantasy fairy novels and like watching things.
Did the tooth fairy come?
Yeah, I don't remember when I found out about the tooth fairy, but yeah, I just like really have always loved that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Any novels or movies in particular that have a big influence on you?
Not.
Trying to think of any movies with like fairies. I know obviously there is the Mermaid movie, which is like a trailer for the new Mermaid
Little Mermaid movie. Yeah, that's I mean that looks quite
Disney
good.
Stuff.
Yeah. I mean I was a big Disney kid. Yeah, I did loved Little Mermaid.
Trying to think of fairy movies.
There's a few.
Because I know elves. Because I'm a Lord of the Rings fan.
Right.
So
Okay.
like
I mean, even Lord of the Rings.
So it's just like pretty much not necessarily one.
No, not really. Yeah, just I think I basically
fantasy in general.
tried to consume like every fairy thing that I could when I was younger. Yeah, and like same with mermaids and stuff. Yeah, it was just what I really liked. I think.
Any favorite movies that? I mean, we were talking about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean with the. I don't remember which one it is, but the one with the mermaid. That's a
Harry
good
Potter
one.
as well, actually.
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Are you a Harry Potter fan?
Yeah. I mean, who isn't a Harry Potter fan?
Yeah, true.
I can't think of any specific. There was definitely one book or like I think illustrations of fairies, but I don't remember the illustrator. But like when I was younger, I definitely had some.
I actually had as a child, like we had a book like that as well. Like mythology book.
Yeah, definitely had like a few like that.
One, I don't know,
yeah, I think it was like.
But that actually, I feel like it was a pretty cool book.
Yeah, I had a few like fairy and mermaid books and stuff, like mythology and like. There's a lot of good illustrators who like illustrate some really cool fairies and stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
those characters are like they're a part of a lot of stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so there's a common creatures.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then also you went to Japan last year, was it?
I went quite a while ago now, actually.
Oh yeah, because of COVID.
Yeah, it would have been like a few years ago. Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe 2018.
Yeah,
could have been. I don't remember.
Where did you go?
So I went to Hakuba to snowboard or ski, which I wasn't a big fan of because I get very cold and I didn't like
some woolen.
Yeah, I was just
jumpers
frozen. Also went to Tokyo, obviously. And I think we might have gone to Osaka as well. Cool. Yeah. So cool though.
Did that influence your work in any way?
Yeah, I think going to Japan was definitely a turning point for me. I think after I got back from Japan, I started really dressing however I wanted and like really experimenting with how I dress because people over there like wear whatever they want. You know, like they have the Fruits magazine with the Harajuku street style. Yeah,
which I was meant to bring that in, guys, and look at it. We can just do it another time. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Fruits magazine on Instagram, it's like the coolest fashion ever.
Yeah,
I love the Harajuku styles.
So just seeing that was so cool. You got to
see that style, like
like it wasn't crazy everywhere, but it was definitely like people in Japan definitely were wearing whatever they wanted. And
because I went to Kyoto and South Korea, and in general, people.
Maybe we went to Kyoto actually. That might have been where we went.
Oh,
not Osaka. Yeah,
it's more like chill.
Yeah, it was so long ago. I don't even remember. Yeah.
We might have gone in the same year actually, but yeah, in general, just people in South Korea and Japan just put a lot more time and effort into their appearance and how they dress.
Yeah.
It's definitely ingrained in the culture.
Yeah, and also I think coming from only really being in Perth, like the shops that were in, like I could have stayed in Tokyo and shopped forever. Like I think that was really cool too, just to see even more like different kinds of fashion and things that that I had like been looking online, but it was cool to see things in store. So I definitely did some damage and bought some things on that trip. Yeah. But I think I sort of decided that I was like gonna start, like I started dressing a lot more how I wanted to after that, and then I just like it developed from there. Yeah,
similar to me when I went to South Korea. It's like, I got to see people like dressing like this every day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a big part of their life. And why don't you think we have that sort of value system in terms of how we dress here, or our love for quality clothing?
I don't know. I guess we don't have as much culture here as like they do. But I definitely think obviously like I was also younger back then before I went to Japan, but you know, when you're surrounded by people who like all dress the same, even if you want to dress a bit differently, you still just kind of dress a little bit more toned down, just if like that's all you know and that's all you're surrounded by. So that's why I think for me it was like, wow, this is like,
it's like you
so
could,
it's like something that is very easy to do. You just need to like go and do it. But I don't know why. I mean, I think Perth is getting better in terms of creatives and style, definitely. But
have you seen a change in the past 3 or 4 years?
I think definitely, yeah. Also, I do think TikTok probably made
100%
a difference. Yeah.
I think TikTok made a lot of people much more into fashion and conscious of how they dress.
Yeah, and just more confident to dress how they want. I think if they were, because obviously with TikTok, you're just like getting bombarded with content all the time. And so if you're seeing a lot of people dress like you, then it's probably a bit easier to dress like that around, especially if you're like a bit younger. Like I think I've seen, because I also work in retail, so I work in a shopping centre.
Oh, yeah.
But I also think since like the rise of TikTok, I've seen a lot of younger people dressing how they want now.
I think it's pretty cool.
I think it's really cool.
I've seen a lot of young people like with fits. I'm like, dope.
Yeah, because it's like harder when you're younger to like step a bit outside of the box.
Yeah, it's it's interesting dynamic, because in Japan and South Korea, it's like respectful to dress up and be presentable and like have a good sort of outfit. And I feel like it's almost the opposite here.
Yeah, it's like you're trying too hard.
Yeah, it's like, why do you look so good?
Yeah.
like you definitely stand out, especially as a man in Perth. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Because most people, I guess the culture is just like shorts and thongs and whatever. So if you're like dressed up a bit too nice, like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah,
so it's interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
But definitely in Perth, I do like to see, more people like getting into it, and because fashion's not only about presentation, it's like about finding your own sort of style, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, and finding like your people as well. Which I think is definitely TikTok's helping with that, as much as it's probably not helping with a lot of other things. Yeah.
So how's have you sort of had a journey of finding your own style over the past few years, and like have you found that?
I think once I went to Japan, I think I really like started thinking like, I can dress however I want. And then so I started Tafe after I came back from Japan.
Did was that sort of like a gap year and you like weren't sure what you wanted to do? And then it like was like,
I sort of took like a few.
Oh, you took a break?
Years, yeah. Okay. I took a break because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Cool. And I was like, in my head, I was like, no point racking up debt if I'm not going to be happy with what I'm doing. So I was actually going to start Tafe the year that I went to Japan, but because I had already been going to Japan, I had to delay. So I started mid-semester.
And did you know you wanted to do fashion before that?
Yeah, so I had committed to doing fashion before going to Japan, but then after going to Japan, I was like, yeah, this is definitely the right choice, I think, for me. And once I started going to Tafe, because like everyone at Tafe was creative, I met some really good friends, and like that really helped. I think I just started really dressing how I wanted, and like I was surrounded by people who either like dressed like were into the same things as I was, or their own things. And so I think that really helped me just be like, yeah, okay, cool, like I can wear whatever I want and like have the confidence. I mean, because I've always loved fashion.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an important aspect of like having friends that, you know, maybe they're into fashion as well, can dress a certain way, because if they're not and you sort of go out with them, you can maybe you feel you're making them uncomfortable, or it's just like you don't feel that you can express yourself as much.
Yeah, because it's like before I had friends and everything, but most of them weren't really into fashion, so they would just dress like pretty regular, which is fine. But I think once I made friends who were into fashion, like it was so cool, and it's just so fun to go out with your friends and you're all like really dressed up because you just love to do that. So yeah,
for sure. And just back on that sort of value system in like Japan and South Korea, another thing I find was people do value kind of quality. I like, even if I just think of Japan, like the architecture, did you find like the architecture was like even walking around the streets, you just found it like so much nicer? Yeah, that's something I love about Japan. Like in South Korea, it's a bit more modern, but there's still, I think the urban planning's still like pretty nice. And if you go to the city, it's definitely more modern, but the taste in architecture is just really good. Yeah. Like there's Dongdaemun Plaza, which is like that's where they have Fashion Week in Seoul. Yeah. And it's just like it's a super cool modern building. But then in Japan, which is more so like traditional architecture, just like I just remember in Kyoto, just walking around the streets, it was just like, whoa, like why is this so cool? Like
it's the so cool. It's
just So just if you compare that to Perth, I just feel like we don't care as much for how our streets look or how our urban environments are planned. Even the choice of architecture, or like the bridges we built, they're just very, I think I've touched on this before, they're just very like stock standard, and
we're a little bit more boring realistically.
So it's just like why can't we express ourselves a bit more? Maybe we're just not there yet. I mean, like I said before, I do think obviously Japan has way more culture they
than
have
we do. Like we're still fairly new, but it is a little bit. It's just when you go somewhere else and you've only lived in Perth, you're like, wow, like places like are crazy compared to here. Yeah.
And any other experiences that were like enjoyable for you overseas? Maybe like, how was it experiencing the food, the maybe music or nightlife? Or
I think it's cool that Japan is like never asleep. It's always awake. I did notice this.
They love getting drunk and like partying as well.
And well, because there's a big work culture in Japan, so it's like they will just like go to like a Burger King and like have a nap and then go back to work, which is pretty crazy. Sure. Seeing snow was really cool, but like I'm definitely not made for cold weather. The cold weather
you got cold?
So cold.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I just think I was not prepared. Like as soon as I stepped out of the like airport, I was like, whoa, not prepared for this.
Winter fits though.
Yeah, winter fits. Winter fits is good.
But maybe I wasn't prepared for how cold it was.
I just wasn't prepared for how cold it was going to be, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, in South Korea it was like, I definitely didn't have, I had to buy.
I had to buy coats and
definitely
stuff.
Wasn't ready for that.
Because I just
level
didn't
of
have
coldness.
It. Yeah.
It's like, Perth.
Like we don't.
It's cold here.
Literally.
Didn't know it would get that cold.
Yeah, it's crazy. But no, I mean the food is great in Japan and it's cheaper, which is nice. Yeah. Japan I'd love to go back. Like I really enjoyed it. Yeah, especially because I think we were in Tokyo for like a week and a lot of our friends were saying that that's like too long and you get bored of Tokyo. And I was like, could not relate less. I would love to just walk around and shop all day, every day. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me.
It's okay.
Learned so much about yourself and Shop Siren, and I guess people can just check out your Instagram, and that sort of thing, and check out all the stuff. Maybe on TikTok soon. Who knows?
Maybe if I get my act together.
But yeah, thanks so much for coming on.